And boy, he just really got nervous. He dropped the reins, grabbed onto the horn of the saddle, and just his eyes are big. And he's just, bouncing back and forth and holding on with dear life and saying, whoa, Ruby, whoa, Ruby, whoa, whoa, Ruby, whoa.
Welcome to A Home That Heals. I'm Dee, along with my daughter, Bree. We are so glad that you are joining us today.
Ever get the feeling that you are riding an out-of-control roller coaster and you just wish you could get back on track?
We know that feeling all too well, but have seen some big wins in our homes with 3 simple, God-given basics that we know will encourage you today on A Home That Heals.
I was reminded of this story. In fact, my husband and I were just giggling over it, remembering when our son first started learning to ride.
Horses.
Yeah,
not roller coasters.
Not roller coasters.
Although it feels that way sometimes.
It does feel that way sometimes. He was first learning how to ride horses, and I have to just pause really quick to tell you about our sweet Ruby. If you hop on our Instagram or Facebook, you can see some pictures of her. She is this sweet little blazer horse. She's a sorrel mare, which is like this light brown color. She's so pretty, but her disposition is just gold.
Well, it's a night and day from what you had when you were your son's age, that's for sure.
And I think my kids have heard one too many stories about the horses that I grew up with.
Oh, good old Benny.
Oh, good old Benny liked to buck and liked to give me a rodeo. And we had such a special relationship. But Ruby is the opposite of Benny.
Thank goodness for this old grandma, because I would have a hard time going through that a second time.
Oh, exactly. She's just so sweet. She wants to please. She just loves her people. And I tell you what, she quickly bonded with our second oldest son. They just have this sweet relationship. And she's really well trained, which again, I didn't have growing up, but she's a well-trained horse, so willing. But she likes to go. She likes to move. She wants to walk fast. She you want me to trot? Okay, I'll go a little faster. You want me to run? All right, let's do this. She's ready to go. And I love that. But, he's starting to learn how to ride on this horse that likes to go a little bit. And we were riding in this arena, and we were kind of working on some things together. I was on a different horse, and he was on Ruby. And it was going well, and he was enjoying his time on her. And so I was getting hot. The sun had come out. The arena, didn't have a lot of shade. So I kind of walked over to this area where there was some shade and told him to stay out in the middle and go around some cones and do some figure eights and things like that. Well, she decided she wanted to come over to the shade.
Of course.
She didn't want to be.
That makes perfect sense.
So she comes trotting back over to her friends. And my son, he hadn't really trotted. He had trotted a little bit, but not a ton, and wasn't feeling
her
comfortable.
Trot's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast, and she was doing that fast trot. Like, she'd go ahead and run if he wanted her to. And boy, he just really got nervous. He dropped the reins, grabbed onto the horn of the saddle, and just his eyes are big. And he's just, bouncing back and forth and holding on with dear life and saying, whoa, Ruby, whoa, Ruby, whoa, whoa, Ruby, whoa. I mean, just everything. I can tell his whole body is tense. And if you don't know a lot about horses, like, they feel your every movement. They can feel your body. So to her, she's probably thinking, oh, you want me to go faster? All right.
Yeah. I remember that. That's one way you tell them you're squeezing. So,
let's do this. So the miscommunication was there. He drops the reins, so they're loose again. He's saying whoa, but horses don't always just know that command. There were way too many mixed signals going on. And so we were just kind of cracking up about this, and it made me think about, frankly, our home right now. It really did.
Oh my.
I just feel sometimes like things are out of control.
Oh, that's a horrible feeling.
And I don't know how to get control. I don't know where my tools are. I don't know I don't know where to go.
You kind of forget because that out of control feeling puts you in that fight or flight maybe mode. I don't know what it is, but I can relate to that feeling, and it's not a good one.
It's not a good feeling. And I also recalled, because after that incident, I wanted to understand what made him so scared, you know, in that moment. And we had a really good conversation. You know, he basically is this kid that he'll fly down to your house on his bike.
Talk about whoa.
Yeah.
I want to run out into that. We have a dirt road between our houses, and I so many times want to be that grandma that's out there. Slow down.
Slow down. I know. You want like speed limit signs, don't you? Down
I do.
our
Speed
drive.
bumps. Let's put a few speed bumps in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No
fear.
Flies, no fear. And
yeah. Same with his mountain bike. No fear.
No fear. And he'll get on this little like four-wheeler thing and go in precarious positions where it could roll over on top of him. And so during this conversation that I'm trying to figure out what he was scared at, you know, what was the root fear that he was feeling in that moment.
I'm curious.
I was also trying to reveal to him that he was on a very soft, sandy arena that, yes, he might fall off of, but would hurt much less than if he fell off his mountain bike going, 20 miles an hour on gravel.
Right.
Or if the four-wheeler tipped over on top of him. Just what was it that he, that made him feel so nervous? Because he said to me, I knew she wanted to go over by her friends. She wanted to go over to you. I said, so you knew where she was going. You knew why. You knew she wasn't out of control. You knew exactly where she was going, that she doesn't want to hurt you. Right. And he's, yeah. So what was it, that made you feel so fearful? And he said it was that feeling out of control, and he just didn't know what to do to make her stop or to get back that control. And I really thought, when our home becomes a place that is chaotic and it doesn't feel like a home that heals, it doesn't feel peaceful, we don't have a good rhythm, it really is, it's that out of control feeling.
Which on every level for every age, it's like God made us so that we don't like that. He's a God of order, and when we think about control, I think sometimes people that maybe don't walk with God, they think God wants to control you. It's this thing, but He gives us grace and freedom. But within that, then we learn the beauty of self-control and of how that can bring us peace and all those good things.
That is so good, because it gives us a freedom that you can have. And again, just like riding that horse, when he has control of the reins, when he has his footing firm in those stirrups and his seat is nice and he's going with the rhythm, the freedom he can have. He could fly around that arena and be filled with so much joy. He could go out on the trail and experience places he's never seen before. But he does have to have control. He does have to have order in order to be able to experience that. Sorry, I just thought that was
that's what I love about horses. They give you so many examples of truth. And I think, again, I just always go back to God's creation. God gives us these creatures. He gives us, the plants, the birds, the everything. Just the world around us is telling us stuff about him all the time. And so now I want to get to more of what I'll use a big word I used with my life skills class today. What did you extrapolate from that?
Ooh, well, I extrapolated that perhaps in our home there are three main basics that we need to get back to.
Okay. All right. So let's get down to brass tacks, huh?
I really did think about it. So, just go along with me here, because I did. I thought of the reins. That's one. He needed to have that control. He needed to be able to have that, in his hands. I thought of the stirrups. That's number two, having that firm footing.
Yeah.
And I thought of just that relaxation, being able to rest and not feel so tense and everything. So that's what made me kind of think, okay, what are three? There's probably 20 things that we need to change in our home right now to make it more peaceful. But let's start with three to kind of correlate with this story that just made me realize that we've got to get back to some things that are very simple in our home and that are so evident to us that when we are in this good rhythm and we haven't just completely kicked these things to the curb, our home does become this place of complete healing rather than complete disorder. For us, the first one is so simple, yet for some reason it is so hard for me to do, is regular family meals.
Yeah.
Right now we have been eating out. We have been, just trying to gather whatever scraps we can find from the pantry. We have not been eating healthy. And I notice a huge thing in our family when we aren't eating nutritious meals, because that's what God created us for. We've got to fuel our bodies with good nutrition, but we also need to fuel our souls with time together. And there's just something about regular family meals. It doesn't have to be every single night of the week, but once in a while, sitting down at the table and being able to talk about our day that refuels us and helps us get through the week. And so whatever that looks like for you guys, I think that face-to-face time together, for us, it's regular family meals that just help us to get back on track and to feel good, feel healthy again, feel refreshed.
That was one of our very first podcasts, I think. We talked about that.
It
has always been it's always a challenge. I don't think, if anybody has it absolutely figured out 100%, write a book. Because I've read quite a few books on this kind of stuff, and there are ideas out there that I know we can share, some that have worked in the past and you're going to try to get back to. But I was having this conversation with a friend this week, and he said, haven't you ever wondered why God would make us have to eat 3 times a day? Wouldn't it be easier if we only had to eat 1 time a day?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'd never thought of that, but you're so right. And he said, but I've thought about it and I've come up with this. I think he knew or knows that we need that community, that connection 3 times a day. If you think about it, those are the beginning of the day, the middle of the day, the end of the day. And if we just had 1 meal, then we would miss out on that connection. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. That was from my friend Michael Borner with Mission 17. And he's raised some lovely girls and, thought about these things a lot. And I'm going to remember that, because you sometimes resent it. It's because you're in a hurry and you're trying to get places, but that is valuable time.
It is. It really is. And for us, it is just that basic that we got to go back to. And for some reason, we veer off of it. And so I have to remind myself. So I'm publicly saying this to remind myself that I got to get back on that track. I got to get a hold of those reins.
Okay, you girls that are listening, and if there's some dads out there, we are her accountability partners right now. So, okay.
Meal planning, check.
Okay.
Oh, number 2 for us is bedtime. I tell you what, 9 times out of 10, the way we hit the hay is a bigger indicator of our next day. Like, it is huge. It is that big that if we have a good bedtime routine and we are able to just really calm down, really connect, and go to bed peaceful rather than just hectic, there is something about the way we wake up the next morning. And again, I'm telling on myself, I have been so lazy.
Now, what happened? Because you were the queen of bedtime routines. I was really astounded at how well you did that for a long, long time.
I'm going to be honest. The weather was so bad this spring, so bad. And as soon as it started to get nice, we have been outside working our tails off. We love being outside. So I come in and I'm really exhausted.
Yeah.
And the kids say, Mom, could we have a movie night?
You're like, I'm all about that right now.
Mom, could we watch a show? And I think, we spent all day outside. You haven't had any screen time. Like, sure, why not? I've been letting them watch a movie, letting them watch a show. Half the time they fall asleep or I fall asleep. And so then we just kind of groggily go upstairs and get tucked into bed and call it good. And it isn't good. No. It has not been good. It's been really, really, our mornings have been really difficult. So I just am reminded that for us, this is our routine that works so well, is if, we can just have, no matter how late it is, honestly, it's better, even if it's late, to make sure I go through this, where they go up, brush their teeth, get their cozies on, come downstairs, we get in the Word, we read the Bible, whether, sometimes we can do a whole chapter, sometimes just just 5 verses and just talk about it a little bit. Say a prayer. We love reading novels. So read a chapter out of an adventure story.
Oh, you've got a great list too.
Oh, yeah.
Great books you guys have. The kids love that.
Right now we're doing Ember Falls. I think they want to do the whole series. We're loving that series, but I love that time together. And there's just something about the energy level. It starts off really high, and as we keep reading, it just really helps them to sink in, get relaxed, get ready for bed. We go upstairs. Each kiddo, we have a different little routine with them when we go into their bedroom, but not skipping that time of either prayer or a song or just asking them how they're doing.
I love that the older kids still like a song too. They were all spending the night with us the other night, and it had been a while since I'd had all 4. And I was surprised that the oldest ones wanted a song. And okay, now let me think. And I was trying to think of a more adult, song to do. And oh no, Father Abraham, sing that one. And that's an oldie but a goodie.
Oh, cute.
But yeah, it was neat. Yeah. There's something very comforting about that. Just that routine. Okay, all is well with the world, and now I can go to sleep.
Yeah. I don't know what it is for your home, though. I just want to say this before I give you my third basic that we are going to go back to. I love that every home is different. Mm-hmm. Every home, you know your family. God made you for your family. But I guarantee you probably have 3 basics that you can go back to. They do not have to be rocket science. Do not pick the hardest one to implement. Do not pick the most difficult. Pick the one that you know is tried and true, and that when your family is doing that, when you guys are gathering in that way, or you are, incorporating that into your day, you just sense this peace that comes and this rhythm and this habit that really helps your family to be able to create order out of chaos. So I just want to say that. And if you have some ideas, send them to our Instagram and Facebook, because we love hearing from you. You guys have such good ideas, and we can encourage one another, because what works for me might not work for your family, but what works for your family, if we can share that on our Facebook page, that might help another family. So please do that. But for us, my number 3, this is the hardest one. So that's why it's number 3, because I'm going to start with number 1 and 2. I have to be proactive about the behavioral struggles that my kids are having. Mm-hmm. Proactive. I cannot wait and just talk with them when they are in that red zone, when their lid is flipped and they are just hot, and I'm hot, and we're not in a good position. Those are the times we do not need to have discussions. We need to just
they're
cool
worthless.
down.
Absolutely 100% worthless at that point.
They are for us. Maybe your kids are different, but for my kids, I need to have those discussions when we have cooled down. And I need to look for those moments that I can really talk with them about why they were frustrated, why I was frustrated, and then go to God's word and really get to the heart of the matter. So many times, especially right now, because life is just busy, sometimes I just try to fix the behavior, and that doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah, and you've talked about that before. The heart issues are the real deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it makes a huge difference when I get to the heart of it, and I realize, really, frankly, I got to be honest, sometimes it's my heart. What is it? Is it selfishness? Yeah. Is it self-control? Is it, what is it going on in my heart that needs to be transformed and needs to be, just more focused on what God's will is for my life? But also for them to start to notice that too, that, no, you're not really irritated at your brother because he was poking you. You're irritated because you're feeling kind of selfish right now.
Or you just want to be irritated.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's just,
I want to be grumpy.
And I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Not very often.
Not very often, no.
Of course.
Yeah, good point, though. And I think when you get so immersed in the behavior, then it kind of becomes a battle of behaviors, your behaviors versus their behaviors. And it just doesn't go anywhere.
No. So take a mommy time out.
Okay.
And then come back and try again. So I don't know. These may sound really way too simple and for your family, but they really work for mine. And you might have a different top 3. But I just want to encourage you today. If your home it's this transition between the end of school year, getting into December. If it's starting to feel like something is just off, take a deep breath, pause, and try to think, what are the reins that you need to pick up to gain a little more control? Where do you need to put your feet? Where can you firmly plant them? And how can you just take a deep breath and relax and stay focused and be able to enjoy the ride with your kids, enjoy the time, go on adventures together, laugh, and have a wonderful healing home that they get to come to from this crazy world? Because that's a lot of it, is we're keeping our eyes on the crazy world. Let's keep our eyes on our homes and know that we're made for this. God's going to equip us. He's going to fill us. He is going to give us everything we need for our kids.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you. And thank you, because we know you'll give us some good ideas. And so that's why we love doing this podcast. And speaking of good ideas and routines, it's time to get in gear for Grandma Camp. So don't go away. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I want to plug in with some of you grandmas out there that are also thinking about Grandma Camp this summer. So we'll be right back.
KTSY presents the all-new Stories Unveiled podcast, hosted by Ashley Sears, where she invites guests to discuss how God is impacting their lives right here in the Treasure Valley.
We talk about the purpose in every story and how to live in freedom from your past. Each episode, you're invited into a conversation about real life. If an issue is addressed in the Bible, then it's important to create a safe and supportive space to discuss it.
New episodes of the Stories Unveiled podcast are now available at ktsy.org/podcasts or listen at all major podcast providers.
The Stories Unveiled podcast is created in partnership with KTSY and Barefoot Media Ministries. For more encouragement and other podcasts, visit ktsy.org.
Oh, I can't wait for Grandma Camp.
I know you can't, and I can't either. I started this tradition, what was it, 4 years ago?
I think so.
And I was not an original idea, of course. For me, it was something that some of my friends were doing, and of course, Pinterest. It shows up on Pinterest, and I thought, oh, that sounds like fun, and it has been so much fun. But I noticed that every year I do it, it gets a little harder in this respect. It was new at the beginning, so everything I did was new. The kids were all about it. But now it's kind of like it's got to be bigger and better, to try to live up to what they remember. But it's getting easier in the respect that their interests, and even though we have kind of a widespread from 6 to 12, they can do a lot. I mean, the little one can do a lot more than she could before. And so I'm looking forward to that this summer. But, grandmas, does summer just sneak up on you? It's like all of a sudden it's here, and I should have had this all planned out. And I've been thinking about it and working on it off and on. But I've got to get serious about it now. So feel free to jump on and tell me how you are doing it. I'm going to be talking to a couple of my friends that I think are really excellent at Grandma Camp. They call it Cousin Camp because they bring in, all their children's children. You're my only child that's given me grandchildren so far. So anyway, but I am going to tell you a couple things I've run across that I think will be really fun. And one is that this idea of hidden treasure. Somehow I saw something about that, and I remembered back probably when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there, and I was all about drawing treasure maps and wanting to find treasure and hide treasure and try to get the neighbor girl to go find the treasure with my treasure map. And I thought that there's something about that. And it ties in with so many themes that we can think about, because I like to make Grandma Camp really about, crafts and games and adventure. But I really do like for it to always point to Jesus, always point back to, what the adventure of living with him is all about. And so that's why I'm going to kind of focus on hidden treasure.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, they are going to love that. Do you know my kids constantly make little treasure maps to go around the house and find little goodies and things like that. So they're going to be thrilled.
So they're going to expect a big treasure.
They are. You better.
I better have something up my sleeve. Okay, so please give me some ideas. And boy, I've read everything from how some of you take your grandkids thrift shopping, thrift store shopping, but how you make that an adventure. I want to hear more about that. And what are the games that have really worked with your kids? I've done some of the Minute to Win It games. Those are big hits, but I know there's other stuff out there. And grandmas, have any of you done camping outside overnight with all your grandkids? Because I think that sounds like fun, and I'd like to try that. So anyway, we're working on it, and we'll be doing our grandma camp in July, I believe. So I've got a little bit of time, but not too much.
Yeah. Well, be sure to send your ideas this way, because grandma camp is huge at our home. And if you haven't ever thought of doing grandma camp, maybe you have some ideas now to start your own this year, because I tell you what, your daughters will love it.
True.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you to KTSY for giving us this opportunity to be a part of such an amazing community. We love hearing from you. So send us your messages on Facebook or Instagram and share your story with us, because you never know who it might help encourage.
That's right. So remember, you're made for this. And even when life feels chaotic, God can and will equip you for what lies ahead. We'll have more next time right here on A Home That Heals.
A Home That Heals is produced in partnership with 89.5 KTSY. To find out more about them, go to ktsy.org.